Well, we were all reading about Wuhan and this new virus that was affecting China. I'm not sure how many of us really expected that the pandemic that we live in today. And if you're not in healthcare, that notion was probably even more remote. I mean, how many of us considered a business model for social distancing and stay-at-home orders? But that didn't matter because on March 15th, Governor Leon Guerrero issued an executive order that shut us down and told us to stay at home. So Sagua MPG had to get ready. So our leadership quickly gathered. We reviewed CDC guidelines and immediately sprung into action. Dr. Mariana Guåhan, she became our COVID-19 leader. She's a family medicine physician, but also has a master's degree in public health. She was communicating with Dr. Berdallo, who happened to be off island at the time. So with Dr. Guåhan, she helped us to translate these CDC guidelines and recommendations and turn them into our new COVID-19 operations. It's important to have a leader and a reliable source of information as you go through this kind of time, especially in times where the guidelines and recommendations are updated constantly. So next we met with our team, and that's our team from all the departments, both the clinic and the birthing center, including Lina Leon Guerrero, who's our marketing manager, she's our webmaster, she's our social media manager, and who also happened to be off island at the time. So that was our first video meeting. We brought out our phone, and since then we've learned WhatsApp video calls, we do Zoom, and just the other day I was invited to my first Google Hangout. It may not be innovation, but it's new, it can be learned, and it works. So at our meeting, what we did was we made sure we affirmed what our primary purpose was, and that was the continuity of patient care. Our administrative, our non-clinical duties, they were set aside. We needed more hands and resources now, and all of those were needed for the changes in patient services. So with our new marching orders, Sagua MPG began to pivot, to modify, and to go forward. We know what's important for us is that everybody understood our objectives, and we wanted to be sure that our staff understood that we were after continuity of care. We needed to reduce the risk of exposure, and we also needed to protect our employees in terms of their jobs for as long as possible. And what did those modifications look like? So in the waiting area, we stripped the area of all the reading materials. We moved some of the chairs, we removed some of the chairs to allow for better spacing. And we increased the frequency of cleanup and disinfection, not just in the clinical areas now, but the administrative areas as well. And while preserving that continuity of care for our patients, we looked to modify our appointment schedules and how we saw or treated our patients. We continued with prenatal care and well baby visits because those are essential. We rescheduled all of our elective and non-urgent care. We reduced the number of providers that we had in the clinic on a daily basis by 20% because that would reduce foot traffic and thereby reduce the risk of exposure, both for our patients and our staff. We introduced telehealth services while clinically appropriate and convenient for some. It really poses challenges too, we found out, for our patients and our providers, because our patients are home with their children, so they're not able to fully engage in the call when they're talking with their provider. One of the biggest changes we made was we had to cancel our popular classes, and these classes were going to resume. So Lina, she worked with our patient educators, Barb Moffness and Edna Martin, and who were just chomping at the bit to find out how can we continue to serve our patient needs. And they launched our online patient education program. It started with look. We added an online post-test, and it not only addressed today's situation, but it solved another problem for us, for our patients, when they asked, well, what if I can't come on the day that the class was actually scheduled? So this option became not only more convenient, but it was also, because now it was online, it was information at fingertips. I have to tell you, Barb Moffness is this great teacher, and you get so engaged in the class that you forget what she's saying. So when you go home, it's like, gosh, what did Barb say I was supposed to do? Well, now they have it online and they can go back and watch this orientation program so they know what's expected. And this past Tuesday, Sagua MPG just hosted its first breastfeeding support pro class via Instagram Live. I mean, it was just really a good deal for our patients who've been wondering in their home, trying to figure out how they're going to be able to attend these breastfeeding support classes. So Halana's review of statistics has shown how effective and valuable these have been for our patients, and what good online opportunities they've been for us. No question that keeping our patients and the public informed of what's changing is crucial to our success. So the messages, I would say, have to be clear, they have to be consistent, and in our case, they had to get out there quickly. So for Sagua MPG, we employed print. We used signs that were posted inside and outside the clinic. In terms of social media, Halana shelved her plans for March, and she worked while she was on vacation, redirecting her focus to our new priority. She was able to update our website quickly to include a COVID-19 banner of messaging. She was able to share messages on Facebook and Instagram, really just updating and providing information for our patients, but also lifting their spirits. You know, so we made a point of always thinking about our moms. How can we be helpful? How can we create content that's for them? So as you all think about your customers, keep that in mind. You're always speaking to your customer, what's important for them, and how do you speak to them in your authentic voice. So for me, I helped with the scripts. So in addition to print and social media, I was helping with the scripts for our teams, right? What do they say when they reschedule appointments on the phone? What do they say when they welcome our patients at the door with limited visiting hours and limited visitors? How do they converse with our patients in the exam room and on these telehealth calls? Our messaging included changes for our patients and the public. And everyone now had to enter through a single entry that was locked and staffed by our clinic. We had to limit visitors, which is really foreign to our family-friendly center, where families are born. That's who we are. And yet we had to do that in order to reduce the risk of exposure. So everyone who comes to Sagua MPG gets screened by our team. They get asked 5 questions that have to do with travel and contacts and symptoms. They also get their temperature checked. And depending on the screen results, they either go on to their appointment or they're asked to wait in the car for a provider to come out and see them. And then there's our financial considerations. I will say that among our 4 managing partners, Dr. Berdalia and I tend to focus on service and operations, while Dr. Bez and our business manager, Flory, would like us to focus more on finances. COVID-19 and the resulting changes really put us all on the same page. And from the outset, we had to consider the financial risks of our decisions, right? And we understood those full well. But then something good really happened. Pika Fejeran reached out to GWCC, and she shared her experience with these triple P programs and the EIDL loans, and we leaped into action. I don't know if I would have known about that had I not heard from Pika and listened in on the town hall meeting. So we submitted our triple P applications, and they've been approved, but they're pending funding. We prepared our EIDL applications, and we were waiting for the new funding to be approved and an opportunity to submit it to SBA via the portal. We looked where we could cut expenses, and we continued to bill for services. And then we had some conversations with our landlord and our other vendors. We were honest and upfront with them about we're holding onto our cash for payroll, because that was the decision that we had made, and that we would make good on our obligations over time once funding for the triple P came forward to take care of our employees. So we agree. I mean, it's new ground for everybody, and you know, we're all in. We give it our all. We encourage all of you to stay really true to your intentions, to reach out when you can, to help, to lend a hand when you can, and to reach out for help when you need it. I think this community that we created through the Women's Chamber, this collaboration, it's really going to help to create success for all of us. So I thank you, and I know there'll be a question and answer period, but there's also my email address and phone numbers if anybody needs to get hold of me. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Lina. That's lovely. If anybody has questions, you can actually put it in the chat function and we will get to it at the end after all the panelists. Pika is our next panelist. Pika Fejeran is the owner and founder of Kadu, Kitchen Lingo, and Pika's Cafe. Each restaurant provides a unique dining experience. However, the common thread that ties them together is that each restaurant is committed to supporting local and being a contributing member of the community. Pika, please take it away.
Okay, hi, here I am. Can you guys hear me? Hello?
Hi, Pika, we can hear you, yes.
Okay, thank you, thank you. Okay, sorry, I'm working with my phone. Okay, we're back. Thanks guys for having me. I really wanna share two things that we've been able to do with my restaurant, Kadu, that's allowed us to stay open during this pandemic and really a devastating recession for our business. The first thing that we've done is what I would consider innovation. Now, the basis for the innovation is giving, and that's nothing new for our business or for our island community, but how we applied it is our innovation. Really, if I've learned anything in my 10 years of owning a small business, it's that when you give, you receive tenfold. When resolving to reopen Kadu for our team to stay employed and customers to have access to our comfort food, we looked hard at the two changes this pandemic will have. First, people will not be spending as much, and a majority of our market will not be around to patronize us. You see, many of our customers are those working or attending GCC or UOG, or families traveling to and from work and school. With the shutdown, they're all now at home, and we knew our sales would dip. And based on our new break-even numbers with our reduced hours and reduced staffing, we knew it would still be a struggle to break even. And the next sobering effect that we knew this pandemic was having, was that families would suffer for not having a job to go to or having reduced hours. And now with the kids being stuck at home all day, eating us all out of house and home, you know, I just really wanted to reach out and help those families and do whatever I could, whatever I had in my power to help. And I knew that if I was feeling that, I could imagine everyone else that had resources to share would want to help as well. So when we reopened Kadu, we did it at the same time we launched our Kadu Caregivers program. And in this program, we were really just the catalyst, and we're just connecting people. So in the Kadu Caregivers program, Kadu does what we do best, and that is cook wholesome comfort food. Our nonprofit partners of Mañagu and Catholic Social Service tell us who needs the food. The food delivery service, Grab and Grub, who we've developed a really great working relationship with, they stepped in to deliver the food wherever it needed to go. And finally, our customers and individuals and other businesses on our island donate to the program. So in 5 short weeks, we've donated over 2,000 meals to the homeless, disabled, elderly, and families with children. And we're looking at being able to cook at least another 2,000 more meals. And that right there is greater than any success we could have imagined. But in addition to that success, for our business, the results were twofold. One, we're keeping our team busy while they're on the clock and employed because a portion of the donations go towards their paychecks. And second, we've also been afforded the publicity that brings awareness to the program, but also our restaurant. So we've been continuously blown away by the trust bestowed on us from each of our caregivers, those who give us donations, and the real coming together of our island businesses, big and small. So many businesses have stepped in to help us. We have our distributors, PDC Wholesale, Evertrade, Permarch, IDI, Triple J Wholesale. our farmers, UOG Triton Farms, Marcelino Tan Farmers Market, the Pseudo Perez Family Farm. Other restaurants have stepped in to help us, Primo's Guam, Outback Steakhouse, Red Lobster. The Agate, Manilo, and Dedito mayor's offices have stepped in, and we're hoping to reach out to all of the other mayor's offices. Small local businesses, I have to say, woman-owned and run. Thrill Threads and Micronesian Macrame, they both stepped in to encourage all of their followers to donate to the program. And Hyatt Hotel and Outrigger Hotel have also stepped in to help. You know, my friend April likened the Kadu Caregivers program to the image of me and Lenny lighting a candle and turning to light the candle of the person next to me. And it goes on and on. And so, you know, although when we set up the program, we had to do the math and make sure that it would make sense for our business. But we weren't just focused on the bottom line. And I think that focusing instead on what role my business can play to help the community, really just, I feel like when you do good, like I said, good comes back to you tenfold. So the second thing I wanted to share that our business has done to survive these challenging times is adaptation. We've really had to adapt, and just like Lina was talking about adapting how they run the clinic, we've had to do the same with the restaurant. So when we reopened, I already mentioned we reduced our hours, reduced our staffing. And then also considering the downturn in the economy, people having less money to spend, we had to look at our products that we sell. So we've been planning to do a menu revamp based on customer feedback, but the crisis really sped this up for us and helped us to tighten everything up as we launched a new menu. With the launch of our new menu, we changed our kitchen procedures, which lowered our food cost and food waste. And we cut out menu items that did not meet our stricter pricing and efficiency goals, and really created a more focused and easier to execute menu for our team to execute, and a lower priced menu for our customers that only includes menu items that we are confident will be consistently delicious. So through the innovation of the Kadu Caregivers program and the adaptation we've done in the kitchen with our menu, we've been able to stay open and reach our break even. What we've learned from this crisis is that there is opportunity to improve in every situation. It takes hard work. We are still working hard every day. Me from home with the kids, Lenny at the restaurant, just to keep our doors open. And it's an always changing game where we're just trying our best to make the right decision, and trying to stay nimble and afloat during these challenging times. But I'm happy to say that, man, this is week 7 of the pandemic, and we are still open. And we're just looking forward to continuing to thrive. And we're actually looking at reopening another one of our restaurants in the next week or so. So, yeah, that's it.
Thank you so much, Pika. That was lovely. Our next panelist is Michelle. So Michelle Crisostomo is the president and co-founder of Guåhan Sustainable Culture, a nonprofit that promotes food security and educates the community on ways to live self-sufficiently through small-scale farming. She is the owner and operator of Tiny Greens Guam, a microgreens farm that services hotels and restaurants. Additionally, she owns GU Hydro, a hydroponic system, supplies, and consulting company that supports hydroponic gardens. Welcome, Michelle.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Everyone can hear me okay?
Yes.
All right. So I just wanted to first talk a little bit about innovation when it comes to the industry that I'm in, which is small scale farming. And to me, innovation, has always been really important even before the pandemic, because small-scale farming is really a male-dominated industry. And, according to the latest U.S. data, there's only about 30% of farmers who are female. And that's due to a lot of reasons. Some of them are the lack of access to land, financing, markets, and equal treatment. And from what I've seen and from other women, you know, whatever it is you're growing, generally a lot of times women aren't, you know, taken seriously. And aside from those gender stereotypes, myself, you know, trying to fulfill the role of being a mother, and then also, you know, taking care of a lot of the household chores around the house. So there's really hard to find a lot of time to put into this business, and that's why innovation has always been important. And including my age, I'm a younger generation farmer, whereas the average farmer is 58 years old. The average organic farmer is 52 years old. So I'm sometimes seen as less experienced than a lot of the other farmers out there. But innovation, you know, I've used these disadvantages and turned them around to be opportunities for my business. Right now, another way I try to be innovative is to use the downtime to implement a lot of new things. So I've implemented a few different strategies to keep the microgreens business afloat. And most of my customers right now are restaurants, the cafes, and the hotels. And when all of those businesses shut their doors during the pandemic, I had to shift my strategy to provide to households and to families, which I had never done before. And so this wasn't necessarily intentional. I had planted a lot of microgreens for the hotel orders, and when all of them canceled their orders, I was left with a whole bunch of produce that was gonna go to waste. I couldn't even eat it all. And I decided to start giving them away just to friends and family. So I started harvesting, packaging them and giving them away. And then I noticed in return, people were trading me for their bananas in their backyard. A honey farmer, a bee farmer was trading me for his honey, and I was getting all this other produce. So I thought, oh, maybe I can just keep it up, you know, and at least something will come out of it. But then they were coming back to me like a week later and asking, you know, can I get another order of this? How can I get more? How much do you charge for it? Because I also want to share this with my friends, because my friends want to order. And so I told them I'd be working on this pricing, and that's what I did with all the downtime. I used it to create an entirely new menu, an entirely different price point for entirely different customers, and then include methods for safe delivery to those customers. And another thing to really make this successful and worth my time was that I needed a website. So you don't see a lot of small-scale farmers with websites. Previously, when I was operating, I just worked directly with the chefs of the restaurant. I give them a flyer with pricing, and they already know, like, they're very familiar with what microgreens are. So I never actually needed a very strong online presence, although I did have social media account and all of that. But the website was really important because I needed to connect with a new audience. There was a new target market out there that needed some education on what microgreens were, how they could use them in their homes, what kind of recipes could they create at home, because people were at home and they wanted to start cooking and experimenting with different recipes, and how could they place orders easily online. So that's what I did. I focused on building a website that was simple enough to understand, simple enough for me to work on, and for orders to be placed. And the response had been really great. I remember launching the order form and opening up my email, and there was actually orders from people who I didn't know, because before it was just all my friends supporting me, and now it was people that, you know, I wasn't sure who they were, but, you know, some of you are here today too, so I just want to say thank you for, you know, supporting the business and allowing me to kind of experiment with this new home delivery. The second thing I want to talk about is the opportunities. So a lot of the downtime allowed me to commit to something that I had wanted to do for almost a year now, and that was switch to a more environmentally friendly business model. And when I had acquired the farm from my father last year, I was operating the same way he had been operating, and I was using the single-use plastic containers that the chefs, you know, it worked for them. And I was harvesting, putting them in these plastic containers, rubber banding them and putting them in plastic bags. And so this was, to me, I wasn't comfortable with it. I felt like my soul was gonna die a little bit more every time I went to go deliver these products, and it just didn't like fit with, you know, my beliefs and just me, you know, knowing that all that plastic was going into a dump because of my business. But it was very difficult to change. The chefs were not used to it. I couldn't afford it at the time. The biodegradable products were very difficult to source or quite pricey. And every time I ran out of these containers, I was rushing to fulfill another order. So it was hard. This downtime allowed me to do a lot of research and switch. So I completely switched to not selling harvested microgreens at all, but selling live greens. And this offered the opportunity for households to get live microgreens, which I actually brought a little sample here. So this is the trays that I started growing. This is actually a sample of the basil, but it's still growing. So when I deliver it, it's either ready to harvest or you could keep growing it for a week or two. And so this allowed people to get the freshest product without packaging in those single-use containers and giving them a little bit of experience growing it from their home. So I made the commitment. So that was a new opportunity to make the commitment to eliminate those single-use plastic waste and just use the reusable planting trays. But you know, this is where I want to talk about GSC, Guåhan Sustainable Culture, because not all the farmers are as poised to easily adapt the way I have, you know, with my farm. And we saw during the pandemic that there was so many opportunities for individuals and organizations to come together and help. And Guåhan Sustainable Culture saw the plight of the farmers. And, you know, with the farmers markets being closed, the restaurants not buying, we saw that food security was threatened. And so one of our board members and our secretary, Kristen Oberiano, she started the GoFundMe campaign, and it's called the Supporting Farmers Sustaining Families program. And so we've already, in the time it's launched, exceeded the amount that we were hoping to raise, which is great. And so much support from the community. The funds that we raised were used to help farmers provide immediate relief and purchase the excess produce that would have gone to waste during this time. Take that produce and donate it back to the community through organizations or through village food drives. And I have to say thank you. Bank of Guam is here today too, and they've given us a large amount of support for this program recently. So thank you, Bank of Guam. Thank you, Jackie. So we got a lot of great feedback from this program, and it's opened the doors to opportunities for us to start other things. And today we launched a pilot program that we will be we will be putting together pre-ordered bags of local produce. So it's another way to help provide relief for the farmers and get produce out there. Another thing we've done is there was a huge movement for backyard farming during this time. I'm sure you've seen the stories on your social media. Everyone has started their backyard gardens. They're growing their own food. And what we did in April, just before Easter, was brought in almost 200 baby chicks. And we were able to give that to 12 different families to start their own egg production in their backyard. And we continue to take orders for egg-laying chicks right now. So those were some of the initiatives Guåhan Sustainable Culture has done. There's a lot more that we are working on right now. And just to continue to work on ways to provide relief to the farmers and to help the get local produce into the community. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Michelle. It's really inspiring and lovely. And I might order some chickens later. Livia is next. Livia Marati is the founder of Ina Wellness Collective, which specializes in wellness events, retreats, and corporate well-being programs. Prior to returning to Guam, she spent the last 8 years based in San Francisco and Amsterdam, growing the ticketing and event management platform Eventbrite. She is also a certified yoga teacher and holistic health coach. Take it away, Livia.
Hi, thank you. Can everyone see my screen, hear me okay?
Sounds great. Looks great.
All right. So first of all, thank you, Guam Women's Chamber, for having me. I'm honored to be part of this panel. I look up to a lot of the women that are on here that own their own businesses, and so happy to be part of it. So I am here to talk a little bit about Wellness Collective and sort of how I refocused during these COVID times, and also some opportunities that I saw. Sorry. So Jen mentioned a little bit about my background, but I think I'm definitely the new kid on the block when it comes to owning my own business. So I just launched in February 2020, an interesting year to start as an entrepreneur, right? So, but my background, like you said, I've been in the events industry and also a health coach and a yoga teacher. So the industry that I really focus on is in health and wellness, but also in events. And I think when COVID-19 happened, I realized just how much of my life has been around creating and designing event experiences. And so when the world says we can no longer gather at all, it forces you to really adapt and to evolve what your offerings look like. So these are the main pillars for Wellness Collective that I set out to launch this year. Events and retreats really being where I focused majority of my time in the beginning, as a way to get my name out, to start to build community on island, and to really sort of build that momentum. And health coaching and corporate wellness was something that I thought, okay, I'm going to focus on that on the second half of the year. But obviously with COVID-19, what it is, the opportunity that has allowed me to do is really move those to the forefront. So I think during this time, the two big, areas that I've really been focusing on are what is more pandemic proof right now, while events and retreats may be on hold. I didn't want to completely neglect events though, because that is really such a great way to grow and build the community. So I piloted doing a virtual wellness event just this past Sunday. Yep. And so Amber, who's on the call with us, she was a practitioner, and I see a couple people that attended on here as well, but really figuring out how to offer something to the community. There was a free ticket option, and then there was donation-based, there's a donation-based ticket as well. But how do we still make wellness accessible to people, and how do we fuse in yoga and meditation and nutrition and do it in something that's in our time zone that people from Guam can actually attend? So, experimented with doing a pilot wellness event, which I think was a great success. But really looking at the last two pillars, health coaching and corporate wellness, this is really where I've been focusing a lot of my time, thinking about health coaching, before as being one-on-one, you meet in person, you have this consultation and you go through a program. I decided to redesign the health coaching program to be 100% remote and also relate to the current times. I noticed that some of the clients that I was working with, they were asking a lot about immunity and immune boosting foods and self-care and stress management and sleep. They weren't able to sleep, right? So these are all things that were coming up as a result of everyone being at home. So I decided to redesign the program to be remote, but also decided to look for clients everywhere. Now that it can be remote, I can have clients in San Francisco, I can have clients in Amsterdam, I can have clients here. So that was really one of the big focuses, is expanding that health coaching community. The second piece is corporate wellness. So when I think about corporate wellness, I think about not only well-being in the workplace, but also thinking about wellness tourism, also thinking about partnering with insurance companies. How do we think about wellness from that aspect? And this sort of downtime has given me a lot of time to really create, which is, I think, a rare thing that we don't get that much time to do, is get in that creative space and create content and do research and really learn and educate myself on what type of program I want to design. It also allowed me time to create, who's my target list of people and companies that I think would be a great fit for this program. So, while events and retreats may have been the early sort of exciting thing to launch, I think health coaching and the corporate piece has been really where my focus has been these past 7 weeks or so. And another interesting additional pillar that's grown, I think, directly as a result of COVID-19 is this idea of community. And it might just be me because I follow a lot of health and wellness people on social media, but I noticed that everyone is going live on Instagram or on Facebook, and there's workshops and there's classes, and there's now this huge audience of people who realize I have to take care of myself at home, I have to take care of my family. And so health and wellness is a really exciting industry to be in, because people are sort of waking up and thinking about it in a big way. So I decided to really focus on how do I start to build that Ina Wellness Collective community even more. I started to grow my membership base. And so there's a membership as part of Ina Wellness. You get discounts to events and retreats and discounts to certain community partners. And so I really started to lean into that. And how do I, that's something that can still continue to grow even in the midst of a pandemic. A big task that I have really been focusing on is business development as well, especially as a new entrepreneur. I just moved home in December. I've really been thinking about how can I use this time to make connections, even though I can't go and meet for a coffee or go to an event and be introduced to someone that way. There's no reason why I can't still email partners that I'm interested in working with, or network with teachers or practitioners that I want to work with, or even look at venues. I don't have a physical space. I do pop-up events and pop-up in different places around the island. So how can I start to even just create a list of here's the people I want to work with, the venues I want to work with, the partners I want to work with. That all can still happen during this time. And people, I think now that they're home and they're checking email more often, they actually have been really receptive to, wanting to start the conversation, even if you can't meet in person right now. And then social media has been a big way that I've been able to have success at the early events that I have. I think there's an active audience there. So I've been experimenting with just different ways to engage people on social media, whether that's giveaways. Amber and I did a giveaway the other week with Blue Amber Trio, networking with teachers on and off island, doing more member appreciation posts. And then I started something 7 weeks ago now called Ina Picks of the Week, where I post just resources that have been helping me personally get through these times. So podcasts, books, shows, classes. So that's been a way that's actually gotten a lot of engagement from people as well. And thinking, in the midst of everyone being at home and a lot of people, being on their screen, how can I start to engage the community and really promote a healthy and holistic lifestyle? In terms of tools, my toolkit has also expanded. So I think entrepreneur, this has a pretty colorful suite of tools they use. So the top row being what I was using before, and 3 new tools that I've started to heavily lean into since COVID-19. So WellSet is a site that lists practitioners, so people anywhere in the world can sign up for a coaching session with me or a yoga session with me virtually. That's been a great way to expand the people that I'm reaching. I've been using MailChimp more as I've been getting out, my member newsletter and leaning into how do I communicate with my audience through email. And then Zoom. I had a Zoom account before, but I definitely upgraded to Pro the first day that this happened as a way to connect and do health. That's how I'm doing all my health coaching meetings, how I'm connecting even just with friends and family. So, it's forced me to take a step back and also think about, I'm still early in launching this business. How do I evolve my offerings? And so some of the lessons that I've learned so far, I think I use this picture a lot. I think Emma's on this call. She's like my Wellness Collective model. But people are still craving community. And I've noticed that, I think even more maybe than before, that people are wanting to connect. They're wanting to feel a sense of community. I mentioned this before, but health and wellness is a growing and a super important industry right now. And so I've been, even though, it's been an interesting year to be an entrepreneur, I at least feel like I'm in the right space. I'm in the right industry. Never stop sharpening your craft. So I've used this time to really try to learn as much as I can. I'm taking workshops and classes. There's so much free content that's out there these days. So how do I improve myself as a coach, as a teacher, as an event planner, and stay inspired during this time? And then lastly, expanding your network. I think any of us, regardless of industry or role, there's always ways that we can be deepening our connections and starting new relationships and networking, regardless of if we can meet in person or not. So that's been something I've been reminding myself as we go through this time. And that's it. If you guys want to connect with me, it's just Livia at wellnesscollective.com. And thank you again for having me.
Really great points, Livia. Thank you so much. That was really great. Our final panelist is Amber. So Amber Ward is an artist, entrepreneur, meditation teacher, body talk practitioner, and co-owner of the Blue Amber Trio Boutique. The boutique shop specializes in gemstones, wellness, ethical gifts, and sustainability, and is located in the Chamorro Village. What started out as a passion for metaphysics, pretty rocks, and jewelry making transitioned over the past 8 years into a brick and mortar location focused on healing yourself and to heal the world.
Can you hear me all?
That's good.
Okay, wonderful. And I'm trying to share my screen for you, so just give me a second. Is that showing up for everybody? Are we loud and clear?
Yes.
Okay, great. Oh, we are on the last screen, however. Give me just a second. Going back to the beginning. All right. Well, thank you, first of all, so much for inviting me to be a panelist here. I feel honored to be amongst so many inspiring women and sitting amongst so many inspiring women as well. So as that beautiful introduction was, I'm Amber from Blue Amber Trio. For those of you that don't know me, I have a boutique in Chamorro Village and also do a number of meditative practices and healing sessions with folks out there. So a little bit about my philosophy. Pretty much as long as I've been an entrepreneur, I've been fumbling. And I think that this is probably true for everybody. Like, all of the best parts, I would say, about learning how to run a business have come from things that seemed unsurpassable at that point in time. Just to give you an example, the day before we opened up the Guam Art Boutique, I was only selling jade and only making jade jewelry. I was very specific that I just wanted that to be our specialty. And the day before we opened up our shop, I was actually told that Burmese jade had a trade embargo on it in the US, and so I was not allowed to sell it here. So the night before we opened up my business, I actually had to stay up all night and make jewelry with other gemstones in order to have something on the shelves the day before we opened. And obviously, it's taught me that it's important to not pinhole yourself too much. So in that same idea, I feel like being in these COVID-19 times, even though for many of us it feels completely unsurpassable, in many ways it is showing us, as we've seen, how to pivot the business in ways that will benefit us all more as time goes on. So pulling on the strengths of my team has been a big component of the pivoting as well. I think oftentimes when you're starting to refine your feet, you realize that you have a team surrounding you that you might not know all of their strengths. So when we decided to start looking into some of the other things that we needed to do, I started really kind of investigating the strengths of my team and how to incorporate that. And then of course, how to take advantage of technology. So the first thing that happened, being a store at Chamorro Village for us, we closed our doors right away as soon as the governor put out that message. So we shut our doors, and at that point in time, I didn't have a website. We had a pretty solid Instagram following and Facebook following. But really what I felt more than anything was that incredible amount of uncertainty and fear that was just visceral and all around. And the first place that I always go to when I'm feeling really strong emotional responses to things is into meditation. And so starting that very first day, I started doing daily morning meditations on our Instagram live feed and sometimes Facebook live feed. And this was less about business and more about fumbling with the reality that everything was changing and forward in a way that could benefit the community in the ways that it was benefiting me, so holding meditative space for others. Another fumble point, once again, was being at Chamorro Village and not having a website. There was no place for people to buy things. And at the beginning there, I really felt like that necessities component was across the board, even online businesses as well. And for us, we sell a number of essential oils, healing balms, things for meditative health, gemstones, different things to help people feel a little bit more grounded and at ease and a little bit more fear and anxiety releasing. And these seemed like more important things than ever to get out to the community. So we needed to find a way how to do that. So we decided that launching a website would be the best answer to that. So what we did was, once again, I pulled on the strengths of my team. So my boutique manager has now become my social media manager even more than ever. And what we've kind of pivoted on that is spending a lot more time on social media, trying to figure out what it is that people need right now. So she's been designing various Instagram story interactive, like the little post where you put emojis or that type of thing, so people could feel engaged, like they had a support system, and really trying to figure out how to show up, like Livia said, for the community as much as we could. And also I put her on copywriting, and she's a beautiful writer. and customer care as we were beginning to figure out how to launch a website, really being in contact with people about the things that they felt like they needed in this time. Emma, who is on this call as well, and also the wellness brand ambassador, it sounds like, is also, she was kind of our on-call worker bee at the time, but she's an incredible resource for pretty much everything that is small business assistance. And she had just launched her online store via Shopify, which is what our POS system is through, with her brand, Irideza. And so I was able to ask Emma if she could show up for us and really help beautify and coordinate all of the back end of getting that website up and running. And she has done an incredible job. We launched shortly after making the decision that we were going to launch. And then I got to call on the co-owner of the Blue Trio Boutique, my mom, Charshel, and she's helping kind of organize the origin story. So just like it sounds like some of the other people here, a lot of our brand identity has to do with how to be ethical, how to be aware, how to start where you are in your purchasing. And a lot of our movement is the origin stories with gemstones and where we're getting the things so that people can see kind of the through line of where things are coming from and how they get into your house. And we haven't really had the time to go through and really hone in on what all of these parts are of that business. And now that we do have a little bit more time on our hands, then we get to really go in on where our gemstones are coming from, what does ethical mean, what does sustainably sourced mean, what is sustainable mining, and really get into the behind the scenes portion of our brand identity so that we can make it more accessible to our customers. So we got to launch it right very quickly. And I think that this is pretty much my biggest takeaway for any of the retail entrepreneurs that are on this call or going to be watching later. And that's that right now, the entire world is struggling. The entire world is trying to figure out how to pivot. And I know as new entrepreneurs, it's kind of scary to get yourself out there. And sometimes people want to plan a whole bunch and figure out how to get everything just right. But right now, because so many people are in this trying to figure out how to move forward, it is the best time to innovate. It is the best time to just put yourself out there and know that if you stumble, that everyone's there along with you and we're all in this together as we're moving through rather than perfecting, just figuring out how to show up for people. And as you do that, to always look for better ways to optimize your solution set. So for example, for us, our website, yay, that's an obvious thing, but we're able to go into Shopify further and see what other types of things we can use, such as our shop Instagram, which is an app that allows people to actually go through your Instagram feed and just click and be able to purchase things directly that way, since most of our demographic is buying via Instagram. Another fumbling was, as a body talk practitioner, this is a type of healing modality that I was doing mostly with clients out of a small space in Agana Heights. Obviously, we can't do one-on-one sessions anymore. And so I had to pivot and find ways to do that more in a virtual state. And so that's where Zooms really come into the picture and been very helpful, as well as WhatsApp video. And that brings me to Zoom, which obviously we're all here, so Zoom is amazing. But Zoom isn't just a tool for one-on-one consultations. If you guys are doing one-on-one work, it's not only a place where you can host town hall meetings and this type of thing. It's also a great place where you can have collaborative wellness events like the one that Livia put on, which was absolutely lovely. And also ways that you can reach out to your community. So for us, really this time is obviously a lot less about sales and more about how we can show up for our community, what it is that people need in these times, and how to really more develop this concept of brand loyalty, how to really connect with our customers, figure out what it is that they need and how to show up for them. And so we're going to be doing more of our DIYs, tutorials on how to use gemstones, and different ways to engage with the community based on what people are asking us for at this point in time. So that pretty much brings me to this concept that we just have to start where we are. No matter where you are in the business, breathe into it, because it's intense times for everybody. And a big part of being able to pivot your business has to do with being able to let go of the me, and this is affecting me and how this is affecting me, and this is my problem and only my problem, and learn how to be like, wow, this is really affecting all of us. And by people not having access to the things that I want to be giving, they're also being affected as well. So it's all about us, and it's all about the we of the situation, and looking for solutions outside of the frames that you usually see, and always holding that bottom key component of being of service. So if there's any way that you'd like to contact me, my information's here. You can screenshot that. Also, Becca, who I have on our social media, she does do social media for other people, as well as Emma here. She has all sorts of wonderful small business support things. So their information's here if you wanted to reach out to them directly and help other small businesses that have been helping us. Thank you very much for letting me be here.
Thank you so much, Amber. That's really lovely. So at this point, we've finished with all our panelists. If anybody has any questions, we are happy to take them now. You can either unmute yourself or send something through the chat. Anybody? Any takers? Any questions? Kathleen, do you have a question?
Oh, I just wanted to actually say thank you to all the panelists, and we are short on time. So Holly, would you like to talk a little bit about our industry advisors and how people can be in touch?
Thanks, Kathleen. Yeah, and I just want to thank everybody once again for coming to the call today, and also to let you know that the Guam Women's Chamber, we've had to do a lot of the same things that the panelists have been talking about. We've been having, we've reached out to you, developing community through these types of town halls. The Professional Development Committee is really wanting to keep continuing this type of work for you guys. And another thing that we've developed is we've been able to shift some grant monies around so we can offer you guys industry advisement sessions. So these are things that are available to our members up to 3 hours for a discussion. So you may have some specific, like, Amber, I need to know how to get on Shopify. You're going to sell a product. Right. So we're able to do something where we can actually allow you, to connect with an industry advisor, such as something like that, and then be able to pay a small stipend for that industry advisor to be, to get a little income, because that is worth their time and that's their knowledge. So we want to honor that. But at the same time, as a member, that would be no cost to you. So, yes, it would be really, really great to be able to do that. We can connect you with these different industries advisors. And like I said, you might not even know what you need at this time. You might say, I just need help with getting my QuickBooks set up for the last year, or to know if I can submit for the PPP for some of the funding that's coming out, those types of things. Or it might be, I have no idea what to do with social media, but I know I need to get online right now. Or I need to learn how to put my e-commerce up. There's so many different things that we know that you have needs with right now. So, and we have so much amazing talent and experience in our members that we want to be able to connect you guys. So that is one thing that we have created. So please do sign up for that. You can connect at, with Eileen, connect at guamwomenschamber.com, definitely to get some more information, and she can help you connect with those industry advisors. Of course, we've also been doing other things throughout this time, and we've been working on the task force for recovery with the governor. So you're going to hear there are going to be some plans rolling out. We will definitely be sending those out. We're also helping develop certain guidelines for businesses as you go into the recovery phase, knowing like, what am I supposed to even do? What are the things that need to be aligned? So we're working right now with the medical community to really be able to standardize some of those guidelines and then share them as templates with you. So those are definitely some things that we are creating and will be rolling out very soon. And we've been working in combination with the other, with Guam Chamber of Commerce, GBB, GITA, Bank of Guam. We've been working with a lot of the different experts in the community to support the business, and specifically for the Guam Women's Chamber, for the Guam, or for the small businesses and the nonprofits. So, and then of course, I'm just gonna, so that's what we have today. We do have a couple of chats that came up. HR issues, yes, we're definitely looking at HR. So that's another topical town hall, Celine, that we will be pushing out. So if you guys have any suggestions too of what you want to see and hear in these town halls, please do contact us. You can email Eileen. If you want to put your email in the chat box, Eileen, so people can have that, that would be great.
So Pika said she can, since Pika does have employees, I want to give her a second maybe to address that question. So it says, can someone discuss HR issues during the pandemic, especially regarding employees who are worried about working during the COVID-19 time? So Pika, do you mind jumping in?
Yeah,
Thank you.
sure. That's a good question. I think first, as the business owner, you have to be absolutely sensitive to their concerns. You know, we had, just at Kadu, we had one employee when this all went down say, look, I'm not comfortable coming in. So we said, hey, no problem. You don't have to be on schedule. So I think the first step is just being sensitive to them. And if you can do it and they don't want to work, then just allow them not to work. But then second is, when you do have employees coming in, follow the guidelines for the CDC. And I actually just, Kadu was just inspected by public health. Like last week, we got an A, so that was awesome. But what they also did was they gave us one of their guidelines, which really spelled out for us exactly how we should be, I guess, managing the public health of our employees and our customers. So what I can do is I can share the guideline from public health. It really tells you what you got to do to keep your store sanitized. Of course, we all know about the social distancing. It also tells you about the signs you have to put up at your business, how many customers should be in your business. But it also gives you what I decided was I just kind of turned their guidelines into our new health policy. So this new health policy based on public health guidelines tells us what to do if somebody's sick, what to do if somebody has gotten in contact with somebody that might have COVID. It kind of tells you all the procedures, like how you treat them, what you have to do with them. And then if somebody's sick and ready to come back to work, it also gives you a very helpful, I guess, questionnaire that you as the business owner would fill out with the employee to determine if the employee is fit to come back to work. So I don't mind sharing that. You know, like I said, I just adapted it from the public health guidelines that were provided to us, and I can share that with the group, if that helps. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I could do that for sure.
That would be amazing, Pika. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And like, that's something we're working on too. So to work in collaboration with that, and it is really important to translate a lot of those government documents, like you said, from the public health and from CDC, from OSHA, all of that into layman's terms and easy graphs that people can follow, right? So that would be super helpful. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I could do that.
Can
I put it up on here, or should we send it on a?
Yeah, we can send it out to everyone's email. We did get everyone's email that's on the call, so we can go ahead with that. And that could also be a resource too, we could put on our COVID-19 landing page if you'd like to share that there. So that would be wonderful.
Okay.
Yeah. We also had Boris Hertzlet from PTAC. He just said he wanted to let everyone know that the federal government is still buying all kinds of products and services. All right, so Guam PTAC can help you at no charge. They are a partner with us as well. Please do visit Guam PTAC. As you know, there's a lot of military spending still going on island, and they can really help connect local businesses as well. So that's really good with any kind of federal government that's happening on island. So very, very useful. Yeah. Awesome. All right, so here we go. So thank you again for everyone for being on the call, and please do watch for an email coming out after this. We'll have that information from Pika. And then we do have, once again, just thank you again to all of our panelists here. We can also send you their contact information if you'd like to get a hold of them and have any further questions. And then please do let us know if you want to take advantage of the industry advisement sessions. And if you have any other questions, do we have a contact screen as well? All right, at Guam Women's Chamber. You can definitely find us on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and YouTube. Once again, thank you so much for everyone for coming on the call today, and we look forward to seeing you at our upcoming topical virtual meetings that we will be having pretty frequently for the next few weeks. Thanks again.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.